Welcome back everybody to our series on the R&D Tax Incentive. I am Lior from Ramon Advisory. Today we're going to be discussing a fundamental item when it comes to doing R&D claims, and that is record keeping and tracking your R&D. It's often made overly complex. We're going to try and simplify it today. Let's think about a game. If you have played any game in your life, games have rules. If you don't know the rules, you're not in the game and you can't win the game. Well, here too, there are a set of rules. Winning the game means getting your benefit at the end of a claim, either cash back benefit or tax saving benefit. So let's go through the rules so that we can try and win the game. We're going to be discussing 3 different rules, and in those rules there'll be a few subcategories in order to try and help you track your R&D in a more efficient and better manner. So rule number 1 is identify your R&D projects upfront if you can. Use these 3 subcategories to try and help you. Number 1 is new knowledge. Clearly understand where the gap in the market is that you believe that there's an opportunity, because that's why you're developing what you want to develop, because you've seen an opportunity. Number 2, now that you've identified that gap in the market, you will move into experimentation, a process of trial and error in making the item you want to make in order to fill that gap in the market. So basically, you had a light bulb moment and you said there's an opportunity in the market. Great. Now you want to go and build something. That wanting to go and build something, that is the beginning of experimentation. And number 3, technical uncertainty. This has to be there. Technical uncertainty is not understanding in the beginning what this thing is going to be at the end, or possibly you may not even succeed. That would be technical uncertainty. Also remember, you need to have at least 1 core R&D activity in order to do a claim. A core R&D activity is work being done on the actual item itself, not the surrounding things around it that will help it get built. That was rule number 1. Rule number 2, do some planning up front and be able to articulate clearly that new knowledge that we spoke about and why the outcome may be unknown. Now, this will require a bit of research, but let's go through it. We've got a few points to help you. So, number 1, identify the people in the market that are trying to solve the same problem. In other words, your competitors. They could have been in the market for a long time, they could have been in the market for a short time, doesn't matter. Identify them, actually go find their websites and record those websites, save them, use them. Number 2, go through what your clients are actually doing and proposing. Explain their service, explain how they're trying to solve the problem that you identified. Right? Part of number 2 is explain their strengths. Let's call that number 3. Explain the actual strengths of their offering. There will be strengths there, and explain them. Number 4, and this is where your opportunity came from, explain their weaknesses, but whilst doing it, explain why you believe your solution is a much better solution. Why you're making your solution, essentially. Because if there's all these competitors and you're jumping in and wanting to make something, why is it that people are going to want what you're making? Or why is it that you're better in the world? And that will be sitting in your competitors' weaknesses, and that is why you will want to improve on that. Rule number 3, track, and track. Record everything. And again, 3 parts to this. Number 1, time tracking. A crucial piece of your R&D claim is understanding how much time are your team spending on what you say is eligible R&D activities. Now, we found the easiest way to do this is to add labels or indicators to your project management software that you're using in your company. What you're using already. Some people go and do record outside of what they're doing. That is okay, but it's very time consuming. The way we like to do it is within your project management software, add those labels, add indicators, understand your software, because every time your team are logging in and logging out and changing things, that is time stamped and that becomes a record. Number 2, it goes along with number 1, record your activities. So look at all your subcategories of all your projects and actually name them in your project management tool. Once you've named them, then go back to point number 1 and make sure your team are using those labels and indicators within those subcategory projects. So now what you're doing is you're creating timestamps within all the different R&D projects, and you're creating this rich data for yourself. And number 3, very useful, is try and organize your financial records in a manner where your R&D is being recorded along the way, so that you're not left with a mountain to do at the end, but rather it's recorded in a very understandable and systematic manner within your financials, that it's clear what you've said is R&D and is not R&D. All this information can be taken at the end of the financial year, looked at, polished, tweaked, and fixed. But if you've done this through the year, you've really gone a long way into doing excellent record keeping and upping your compliance when it comes to the R&D tax incentive, and also saving you and your team time once you get to that end of the financial year. Good luck with your record keeping, and make it happen.